Calaroga Shark Media.
Boy, there is so much going on with podcasting and comedy. Hi, I'm Johnny Mac on a busy Wednesday with your daily comedy news. All right, the big one, Marc Maron, kind of shockingly announced that WTF with Marc Maron, his podcast that's been around for 16 years, will end this fall. On Monday's episode with John Mulaney, and I did pull some clips, Maron said, WTF is coming to an end, and it's our decision. He made it quite clear that this was a co-decision with producer Brendan McDonald. He was very, very clear about that. Maron said, we'll have our final episode sometime in the fall. The podcast turns 16 years old on September 1st, more than 1,600 episodes. Probably the most notable one was Barack Obama in the Garage. I actually used that to teach my college students on this is how you do it. I'm going to miss the show a lot. I find Maron very easy on the ears. The conversations are always good. There are a lot of weeks where Maron has the same guest as someone else, for example, John Mulaney, and the Maron version of it is just better. Maron explained, it wasn't some kind of difficult decision necessarily. Neither me nor Brendan, who were the only people in charge of this operation on every level. We both realized together that we were done. All right, let's listen to Marc Maron explain it.
And this started, the old garage, just no one knew what a podcast was. I was coming out of a horrendous divorce. I was wanting to figure out how to continue living my life. Things were not looking good for me. Brendan McDonald, my producer, who I'd worked with for years on other things, radio and streaming related. And when Brendan and I started this thing, all we knew is we were going to do it every Monday and Thursday, and there was no way to make money. There was no way that we knew how to build an audience or anything. And it was crazy. We were doing it in a garage at the beginning that was just a garage. It was filled with junk. And it slowly evolved into the show that became what you listen to twice a week. 16 years we've been doing this. And we've decided that we had a great run, and now basically it's time, folks. It's time. WTF is coming to an end, and it's our decision. We'll have our final episode sometime in the fall.
Now, I remember listening to the show. Podcasting has had kind of two waves. The second wave, everybody puts around 2015 with Serial. But there was that earlier wave when we all first got phones, and you would actually have to connect your phone to iTunes and manually download a show before you left the house so you had something to listen to. And I was out running, and I remember Maron and Nerdist were like two long-form pods that you would grab so you would just have stuff on your phone to listen to as you ran. Maron said, we're tired, we're burnt out, and we are utterly satisfied with the work we've done. We've done great work. Doesn't mean I'll never have, talks like I do here or some kind of podcast at some point in time, but for now, we're just wrapping things up. It's good that he gets to go out on his own terms. Maron said, it's okay for things to end. We started the show on our terms. We grew it on our terms. We'll end it on our terms.
It's the right decision for me. It's the right decision for Brendan. It's okay. It's okay for things to end. It's just time, folks. But again, we'll have a few more months, so don't get all bummed out. Let's just enjoy it. The world is on fire. I have people I want to talk to. We'll find a little joy. We'll find a little connection. We'll find a little solace in each other's company.
Also, notably, he never did video, and that's the big thing in the industry right now is, you got to have a video, and this has always been an audio podcast. Maron's show actually debuted a month after the Adam Carolla show and 3 months ahead of Rogan. And then he got into the interview with John Mulaney, which was separately noteworthy. Now, what rang my ears, listen carefully to John Mulaney commenting here. Maron asks him, will there be another season of Everybody's Live? And I had pointed out on this podcast a few weeks back, Robbie Praw, who heads up Netflix comedy, gave some sort of quote that made me go, this isn't the slam dunk we were led to believe. Now listen to Mulaney here. I'm not sure this show's coming back. Listen.
Have they said we're doing more yet?
Yes, there was a plan to do more, and we're figuring it out.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Are you gonna?
I never know what to say to that.
I also like this clip from John Mulaney. He's almost defiant that if something works, he's going to stop doing it. Fair enough. Respect the mindset, but it's why the show doesn't work. But here's Mulaney.
Anytime you say they're figuring it out, not a bad side, a side of me comes out. Like they've found their groove. No, we haven't.
Yeah.
I'll do it blindfolded.
And also when they say things like they're figuring out, it's just a diplomatic way of saying it's not good.
Oh, I think they just say it's not good when they don't like it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I think we're no longer living in the decent era of, they're figuring it out.
No, I think people want the best for you, John.
Oh, that's nice.
Mulaney also talked about being offered the Oscars. He did confirm that it was offered to him. He said, I was very flattered. They came to me, must have been last summer, and I knew Jimmy Kimmel wasn't going to do it, and they offered it. And it was honestly, then I had a lot going on, and it's months and months of work. Both he and Maron praised Conan. Mulaney said he came out and was not only funny, but he elevated the show to the point I almost convinced myself that I'd seen these movies, and I hadn't seen one of them. Maron makes some good points that Conan will sometimes self-erase when he's floundering. And in the first few seconds of the Oscars, you could see Conan was almost heading towards a flounder and then found himself. So it's a really good listen, Maron and Mulaney. But I have plenty of more podcasts for you to listen to. Joe Rogan had on Jimmy Carr, a very good 3 hours. I can listen to Jimmy Carr talk about comedy all day, every day. Here he talks about hecklers.
And then I'm trying to. I've got a good fastball, and then I'm trying to work on the other bits. But that's kind of what I love about the industry, because it's
everything. It's all kinds of
I can get good at that, and then I can do like 20 minutes of fastballs,
Mm-hmm.
and then I've started about a year ago. I started working with a videographer and putting stuff out of like heckle videos and people talking to me.
Yeah, I've
on the
noticed
internet.
those.
And you go, it's just such a joyful thing, because it's almost like doing the stuff when you go, just hit me whatever you want, I'll do anything.
Mm-hmm.
It's like seeing a magician do real magic, because you kind of go,
Right.
yeah, I've worked
Right.
this muscle hard enough. I'll write jokes live for you now.
Jimmy Carr is also the guest on Kill Tony. Haven't gotten to that one yet. The podcast The Town had on both Mulaney. I'll maybe talk about that in a few days. And had on Mike Birbiglia. The clip I pulled here, Mike Birbiglia, sounds to me like the Netflix money isn't what the Netflix money used to be. Here's Birbigs.
Are they still paying top dollar though? You don't have to give me numbers, but like they're still treating you well? Because I've heard some pullbacks.
I think there have been. I don't look at other people's papers that much, but it's fine. I've never made a ton of money from comedy specials. A lot of it is just like
Marketing.
And it's getting like, look, I do a really specific thing. Like, I consider myself the luckiest person in the world to have found Netflix. I shouldn't even say this on record because it'll make my negotiation for the next.
I know your agent is about to cringe.
Exactly, but it's like, Netflix is the best thing that ever happened to me, because look, it's like I
turn it off. Mike Berkowitz, turn this off.
I make shows that are a combination of Broadway shows, theater, storytelling, and stand-up comedy. Like, nobody before Netflix, nobody was like, we got to get that on Comedy Central.
And I just now, before I started recording, walked the dog for an hour and listened to Diary of a CEO with guest Jimmy Fallon. I really enjoyed it. It was nice to hear Jimmy Fallon in real person mode. But boy, the way he tells the story, he was obsessed and convinced he would be on SNL by age 25. It almost sounds like hogwash, but you listen to him say it over and over, and he believes it. The host even asked him, well, what would happen if you didn't get SNL by 25? And Fallon can't even entertain that as a premise of what do you mean? Of course I was going to get it. Very interesting there. One thing that was a little funky, it got cleaned up at the end, but in the first half of the podcast, they were making it sound like, by phrasing it this way, that Fallon replaced Letterman. I mean, kind of, sort of, but that's like saying Jay Leno replaced Jack Parr. I mean, kind of, sort of. Later on, Fallon said that he replaced Conan, which is factually accurate. A note to everybody in the podcast industry. This is my number one pet peeve, but I'm specifically calling you out, Diary of a CEO guy. So in the middle of the podcast, Jimmy Fallon is talking about dying, about what it will be like when he dies. And it abruptly cuts to a live read of the Diary of a CEO guy trying to sell us an iced coffee. It's a train wreck. People, you have to place these commercial breaks. It's very easy. I do it on this podcast every day. If you notice, what I will do is I will end a story in a down inflection. And I leave a nice little hole there, and that's where the commercial goes. It's very easy to do, and I don't know why people can't do it. There are so many train wrecks. The worst train wrecker of all is Tim Dillon. Mid-sentence train wrecks. Joe Rogan is awful. Plus, the reads come mid-sentence. Spotify, do better. Anyway, Diary of a CEO. Very, very good listen with Jimmy Fallon. Fallon talks about the highs and lows of his career and auditioning when he was in his 20s. He says it wasn't the greatest, and I'm a pretty positive guy in general, but I think it was probably my lowest moment. I remember trying to see what therapy was or if I could afford a therapist. I wrote a letter to my best friend and was like, I'm losing it, dude. I think it was something to the point of I'm losing it and I don't know if I can make it. Jimmy talked about his obsession with SNL. I became so obsessed in high school that I really couldn't hang out with anyone. I watched the show. People were like, can't you tape it? I can't tape it. I have to watch it live. I said, if I do nothing else in life, that's all I wanted to do. And even if I could go for one season or one episode, then I could do whatever I want. Really, really good conversation. I think Fallon is better than the interviewer, Stephen Bartlett. I'm not sure Stephen is the greatest host, but he's got a pretty successful podcast there. And I'm sitting here in the basement. So what do I know? But I think Fallon is really good there. Also catching my ears is Jimmy does kind of what I do and swallows the syllables on the first word of SNL. I'll often say Saturday Night Live or Saturday Night Live or something like that unless I catch myself and over-enunciate. Jimmy a few times says something like Saturday Night Live, if you pay attention and caught my ears. Continuing our very busy Wednesday and busy A block, Ricky Gervais last week on Friday got his Hollywood Walk of Fame star. He said he was humbled and that his success was a mix of luck, persistence, and a little bit of pushing against the tide. Ricky said, I'd love to claim that it was due to my unrivaled genius, but truth be told, it's a cocktail of luck, persistence, and a little bit of pushing against the tide. You got to polarize, I think. You need to know if you're going to do anything of any worth, as many people hate you as love you, but the ones that hate you shouldn't affect you. The ones that love you, they buy your house, so I'd like to thank them. And we've had a few weird years of cancel culture, people telling you what you can or can't laugh at or talk about, but we pushed back and we won. Until the next time.